in the car, it's like when you listen to music and you hear the sound of the drums or the beat or the snare or the guitar or the different riffs or the violin. That's like in the car, all those different bumps and sounds of the gear ratios. The engine screaming. And your heart racing like crazy. You're in tune to all those things. I'm going to take you through what it feels like in a Formula One car and in competition, head to head with another competitor at 200 miles an hour. So the cockpit of a Formula One car, I like to think it's no different to a cockpit of a fighter jet or the space shuttle that goes to space. There is only one seat. The seat is molded to my body, so only I can fit this seat. The cockpit is my space that I get to control, so I get to decide all the buttons that I have in there. I get to decide the shape of my pedals, the positioning. All around you is the radiators, which are running at 100 degrees, so it's very hot in there. We do have a drink in the car. There's a tube that comes out of the helmet, and it starts, they put it, it's basically ice at the beginning, but before the race even starts, it's tea. Because it's right behind the seat most often, and it's surrounded by the engine, it all gets incredibly hot. So it ends up being really warm liquid, so it's not the most refreshing. There's nerves, you're nervous before the race. I've been racing for 28 years. I still have the nervousness before the race, the butterflies in your tummy. The start of the race has always been different. What's crazy is that no race is ever the same. It's always different, always goes. Sometimes it goes good, sometimes it goes bad. Sometimes you don't get around the first corner, sometimes you do. The first lap of every race is always chaotic, no matter from your first race ever to your last race. It's about fast reactions, thinking on the spot, and making the right or wrong choices. And being able to navigate through that mess. And there's all these drivers that you're competing against who want the same thing, or are just as hungry, or challenging you on how hungry you want it. Some of them are really aggressive. There is a Zen state or a zone that top athletes get into during the race. That's when everything shuts off and your senses are heightened. Visibility is wider than normal. Vibrations from the engine, bumps, sounds, depth perception. My pupils must be pretty wide because I'm taking in a lot of information. My mind definitely switches to a different capacity because I'm taking information at a fast rate. So I'm probably using a different part of my brain. So there's cars everywhere. They're in your mirrors, so you can see them around you. You can hear them kind of alongside you. And you're trying to also keep an eye on what's up ahead of you. When you're in go-karts, you have a full 360 circle wheel, and you usually drive at 10-2, like you could do on the road car. With our car, we have like a rectangular steering wheel, and so the grips are at the side. There is no top part, so you can't take your wheel off and turn the corner like some people do, right? You have to hold on for dear life. The reason our cars are so great is because they have wings on them, basically, that are like a plane, but much smaller, but very powerful. And they're basically doing the opposite to a plane. So a plane creates lift. So I always explain it to my friends that when you're driving down the road or highway or whatever, and you put your window down and you put your hand out the window and it pushes your hand up, that's what a plane has, but obviously that's called lift. If you put your hand pointing down, it pushes your hand down, and all our wings are like that. So the more efficient our wings, the faster we can go through the air, and the bigger those wings, the more force, and the faster we go, the more force you create. So at 100 miles an hour or 100 kilometers an hour, you can put it upside down in a tunnel on the ceiling and it will stay there. Your helmet weighs just under 4 kilos, so almost 10 pounds. Your helmet and your head naturally weigh a lot, and that's the only thing that's not strapped in. So everything else, I've got these crutch straps, a lap strap, and ones that come over the side here, and I have to have them very, very tight, so I often have bruises from the braking, from the throwing around. G-force is something that people always wonder what that means, but we all experience it, right? We have gravity. It's a force on our body, and it's a multiple of your weight. But if you go on a roller coaster ride, or if your parents are driving, or if you are driving down the road and you're braking for a corner, you feel your body move forwards, that's a multiple of your weight. You probably can pull up to 1, maybe even 2 Gs, depending on how hard you're braking. Because we have this really light car, we have all that downforce. We're pulling 6 and slightly above under braking. So when we brake from 220 miles an hour, we have carbon fiber brakes, so the thing, it slows down in very, very fast. In like 50 meters, you can go from 200 plus miles an hour down to 50 miles an hour. And when that happens, it feels like you've got an elephant sitting on your back, pushing your whole body forwards. And it's high octane, you know, your adrenaline is at a high. So usually at the end of the race, you are so exhausted that sometimes it's hard to get out of the car. There are some races where you're physically exhausted, but most of them are mentally, you're destroyed afterwards, whether it's been good or bad, whether you've won or whether you lost. You don't really want to leave any energy on the table. You've given everything, right?